And that seems to be the big question when you're fighting Chimaev. Like, before we get into resumes, who's ranked, who should be there, when we come down to what's the guy that possesses the skill set where we can close our eyes and make believe that Chimaev could get beat, we have to first be able to convince ourselves that that guy possesses superior takedown defense to the excellent offense takedown abilities of Chimaev. I think Strickland's that guy. I think they found the right guy.
The tension surrounding the potential clash between Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland is reaching a boiling point as both fighters prepare for what many are calling one of the most intriguing matchups in recent MMA history.
Tell you what I can't fucking wait for is Khamzat versus Strickland. Let's fucking go.
That's really happening?
Holy in New Jersey.
Yeah.
In New Jersey,
Damn.
Joey.
Yeah. Damn.
That's a motherfucking fight.
That's a Super Bowl right there, dude.
Dude, the press conferences,
bro.
So you know how the UFC makes them do, like Paramount makes them do face-off like 3 times before the fight? They fly in on Tuesday. Yeah. They have them face-off with the lights. You can't do that with those.
Imagine the shit talk.
You can't
Strickland
do it.
You can't do
it. And Paramount, you know, they're in suits. Like, I don't see why not. It's like, well, because they're going to kill each other.
Yeah, you can't do that.
He called him a terrorist. We can't have
He called him a goat fucker.
Yeah, damn. You can't have it.
Damn.
Can't have it. Bro, I love Strickland.
How good did he look against Fluffy?
Before that fight, I'm like, man, Strickland will probably get fucked up by Khamzat. Then the shape I saw him in, I was like, motherfucker.
Training footage and insider reports suggest that Chimaev is pushing himself to new extremes, sharpening the already dangerous skill set that has made him one of the most feared competitors in the sport. At the same time, Strickland continues to build momentum, coming off strong performances that have convinced many he's one of the few middleweights capable of posing a real threat.
To fight, because some people may say that they don't have high expectations for the fight, but the build will be incredible.
Yeah, in terms of what the fight might actually look like, it's not the best for me of what it actually might look like. I think in terms of what the best fight might look like in all these fights is Ilya Gaethje. But this fight, there's so much involved in it. One, why it interests me the most is because I didn't expect it to happen so soon. It was like you didn't hear from Chimaev. Everybody's talking about how he weighs like 400 pounds. Like you don't know where he's at. And the next thing you know, they're like, yo, Chimaev's fighting Sean Strickland, you know, in a couple months. You're like, what? Like, so it just, to me, it kind of came out of nowhere. And so like, that's one, I didn't expect it. 2, Sean looked so good in his last fight that I believe that he's capable of beating Chimaev, and he might be the only middleweight on the planet right now that's capable of beating Chimaev.
The MMA community is deeply divided. Some believe Chimaev's overwhelming power and grappling will dominate, while others trust in Strickland's durability, cardio, and relentless pressure. One thing, however, is undeniable. When these two step into the cage, it won't just be a fight, it will be a war. Much of the early analysis centers on the stylistic clash. Fighters and analysts, including voices often heard alongside Joe Rogan, point out that Chimaev will almost certainly look to secure early takedowns. His wrestling has dismantled opponents time and time again, and many expect him to follow the same blueprint here. The real mystery begins after that first takedown. Strickland has built a reputation on his ability to get back to his feet, maintain composure under pressure, and drag opponents into deep waters where his cardio becomes a serious weapon. If he can repeatedly defend submissions and force Chimaev to work, the later rounds could shift dramatically in his favor. On the feet, the contrast becomes even more interesting. While Chimaev has shown flashes of striking ability, most agree that standing and trading with Strickland is a risky strategy. Strickland isn't known for one-punch knockouts, but his high-volume, pressure-heavy style, often compared to fighters like Nate Diaz, can slowly break opponents down. He's notoriously difficult to hit cleanly and constantly applies forward pressure, forcing the stakes over time. The big question is whether Chimaev will stick to a disciplined grappling approach or take unnecessary risks risks trying to prove a point on the feet. Analysts like Bilal Muhammad have been vocal in their predictions, with some expecting a dominant performance from Chimaev. There's a belief that he could take Strickland down, control him, and eventually break him mentally before securing a submission. Others argue that the hype surrounding the fight is driven as much by personality and promotion as by rankings. Strickland's outspoken nature and ability to generate attention have undeniably played a role in elevating this matchup, especially in an era where trash talk often accelerates title opportunities. From another angle, Chael Sonnen emphasizes that the key to beating Chimaev isn't just skill, it's having the specific tools to neutralize his wrestling. In his view, Strickland may be one of the few fighters who fits that description. If Strickland can successfully defend takedowns, even partially, it could force Chimaev into unfamiliar territory and reveal aspects of his game we haven't fully seen yet. Meanwhile, fighters like Michael Page highlight just how dangerous Chimaev is up close, describing him as a different-level athlete whose intensity is difficult to replicate. Yet even among those who favor Chimaev, there's acknowledgement that this fight carries unpredictability. Kamaru Usman adds an important layer to the discussion, noting that while Chimaev has looked dominant, he hasn't yet been pushed into a complete, fully tested performance. Strickland might be the opponent who forces him to reveal his entire arsenal: striking, grappling, endurance, and adaptability. That uncertainty is exactly what makes this matchup so compelling. Henry Cejudo believes the fight could swing either way, depending on how the early moments unfold. Chimaev has the ability to end fights explosively, but if Strickland survives that initial storm and establishes his rhythm, the dynamic could shift entirely. The psychological aspect also plays a major role. Strickland is known for pushing boundaries with his words, but provoking someone as intense and unpredictable as Chimaev could backfire, adding even more danger to an already volatile situation. There's also a deeper layer of intrigue due to their shared history. The two have trained together in the past, and there appears to be genuine tension between them. Unlike manufactured rivalries designed purely to sell fights, this one feels personal. That authenticity adds fuel to the fire, making the build-up just as compelling as the fight itself. As the bout approaches, predictions remain split. Some see Chimaev's grappling dominance as the deciding factor, envisioning a controlled, ground-heavy victory. Others believe Strickland's resilience, striking, and ability to extend fights could expose weaknesses and potentially lead to an upset. Regardless of the outcome, this fight represents more than just a clash of styles. It's a collision of momentum, personality, and unanswered questions. When the cage door finally closes, all the speculation will give way to reality. Will Chimaev continue his rise as an unstoppable force, or will Strickland prove he has the tools to derail the hype train? One thing is certain, the MMA world will be watching closely, because this isn't just another fight, it's a defining moment. When it comes to predictions, a large portion of analysts are leaning toward Khamzat Chimaev imposing his will early. The expectation is that he'll waste no time closing the distance, securing a takedown, and turning the fight into a grappling-heavy battle. If he's able to control position and maintain pressure on the ground, many believe he could wear Sean Strickland down quickly, potentially leading to a submission or a dominant decision. In this scenario, it's less about explosiveness and more about suffocating control, breaking Strickland mentally before finishing the job. On the other side, there's a strong argument for Strickland pulling off the upset. His path to victory revolves around survival and endurance. If he can consistently defend submissions, get back to his feet, and force Chimaev to repeatedly expend energy on takedowns, the fight could dramatically shift in the later rounds. Strickland thrives in high-volume, pressure situations, and if the fight extends into the third, fourth, or fifth round, his cardio and pace could start to overwhelm a slowing Chimaev. Some predictions land somewhere in the middle, suggesting a competitive but tactical fight rather than an all-out finish. In this view, Chimaev may still secure multiple takedowns and control key moments, but Strickland's durability could prevent a stoppage. That could lead to a decision win for Chimaev, though not without moments where Strickland makes things uncomfortable, especially during striking exchanges. There's also a wild card scenario that has fans intrigued. What happens if Chimaev decides to stand and trade more than expected? While it's not considered the safest strategy, some believe he might take that risk to prove a point. If that happens, it opens the door for Strickland to capitalize with his sharp jab, defensive awareness, and relentless forward pressure, potentially turning the fight into a striking battle that favors him. In the end, predictions remain split because both fighters bring very real paths to victory. Chimaev has the tools to dominate early and decisively, while Strickland has the style and toughness to drag the fight into deep waters and flip the script. That uncertainty is exactly what makes this matchup so compelling. No matter which way it goes, it's likely to answer some big questions about both men.